The movie begins in the kingdom of Malaria, where it always rains. Igor, a hunchbacked man, narrates that the kingdom was a sunny land of farmers, but mysterious clouds appeared and never left. The lack of sunlight killed the crops, and the townspeople became poor. King Malbert suggested the townspeople create evil monsters, and they used the monsters to generate money for the kingdom. Igor walks through a cemetery and narrates that he never wanted to be an Igor but wanted to become a scientist. The hunch on his back landed him in Igor school, and after graduating, he got hired by Dr. Glickenstein. Dr. Glickenstein isn't the smartest scientist, and Igor hides as he works on his inventions. Glickenstein summons Igor and instructs him to pull the switch to activate his invention. Igor pulls the switch, and as the machine activates, it malfunctions and shuts down. Dr. Glickenstein instructs Igor to get a component for his machine. Igor suggests getting a different component that will work better, but Glickenstein yells at him and leaves the room. Scamper, an immortal and talking rabbit, and Brain, a brain in a jar, emerge and talk to Igor. They are Igor's inventions, and Scamper tries to kill himself because he hates being alive. He teases Brain for writing his name wrong on his jar. Igor realizes that Glickenstein is going to lose the upcoming Evil Science Fair. He says he can't fix Glickenstein's machine because he will be thrown into the Igor recycling pit. Meanwhile, Dr. Schadenfreude, an evil scientist, hosts a party. King Malbert arrives at the party, steals Schadenfreude's spotlight, and embarrasses him in the process. Later, Schadenfreude talks to his girlfriend Jacqueline and says he wants to take over the kingdom. He reminds her that she hasn't helped him steal an invention for the Evil Science Fair, and she mentions that he is a fake scientist. Jacqueline reveals that Schadenfreude's lab is fake, and they begin to argue. They slap his Igor until it falls to the ground, and Schadenfreude holds Jacqueline. He says he will kill the king and rule the kingdom. Later, Heidi, Glickenstein's girlfriend, who is Jacqueline, enters Glickenstein's lab and tries to steal his plans. Igor enters with the two components, and Glickenstein refuses to take his suggestion. Igor pulls the switch and activates the machine. Glickenstein reveals his invention to be a rocket ship, and as he enters, it explodes and kills him. Scamper and Brain emerge, and Igor panics because he doesn't know what to do. They hear a knock at the door, and Scamper says he doesn't have to open it. They realize it's the king, and he makes his way into the building. King Malbert searches for Glickenstein and says he needs someone to defeat Schadenfreude in the next Evil Science Fair. Igor lies and says Glickenstein is going to create life. King Malbert hits Igor around in excitement and instructs Igor to keep Glickenstein alive until the science fair. He leaves the building, and Igor informs Scamper and Brain that he will create life and win the Evil Science Fair. Igor takes them to his hideout and shows them his plan. They assist him as he puts together the parts of the creature he is creating. He inserts an evil bone into the creature's finger and says the bone loses power when exposed to light. Igor raises the creature out of the building and asks Scamper to pull the switch. He pulls the switch, and it generates lightning that strikes the creature. The machine malfunctions and shuts down, leaving Igor to consider himself a failure. They realize that the monster isn't where they left it, and they see it swinging from above them. It lands on the ground, breaks out of the building, and runs away. Igor celebrates with the others, and they run in pursuit of the monster. Igor and the others see that the monster has entered a home for blind orphans. They assume it is killing the orphans but enter and see that it is playing with the kids. Schadenfreude and Jacqueline enter Glickenstein's castle and see Igor's plan on inventing life. Igor uses paper flowers to attract the monster to the castle. He realizes its evil bone isn't activated and says it has to do something evil to activate it. He calls the monster evil, but it mistakes him and names itself Eva. Scamper tells Brain to soak his brain, and Igor gets an idea. Igor and the others take Eva to a store where they can brainwash her into an evil monster. They place her in the room and hold her eyes open as she watches horror videos. Brain decides to get his brain scrubbed, and they take him to a room. While getting his brain scrubbed, the television remote malfunctions and Brain takes the one in Eva's room. He tries changing the channel, but it doesn't work. Unknown to him, he changes Eva's television channel, and she watches acting lessons. After the procedure, Eva steps out of the room, and Igor realizes she is behaving like an actress. He realizes that someone changed the channel, and the man in charge of the shop tells him that the brainwashing lasts for a lifetime. Igor takes Eva and the others home as he laments his failures. Schadenfreude secretly follows them and decides to use a shrink ray to steal Eva. Igor realizes that someone is pursuing them and begins to evade the person. Schadenfreude shrinks a bridge, but Igor jumps across. Schadenfreude gets to Igor, and Igor decides to use Eva's indestructibility to redirect the beams from the shrink ray. Eva saves Igor and the others as they're about to fall off a cliff. Brain reveals to have changed the channel, and Igor tries to kill him with an axe. Igor decides to use Eva's newfound ambition to trick her into participating in the evil science fair. They return to the castle, and Igor supervises Eva as she practices. He lies that the science fair is an audition and says she'll have to fight the other contestants. Igor stands on the balcony, and Eva joins him. He tells her that King Malbert saved the kingdom with his idea, and Eva says she'd rather be a good nobody than an evil somebody. She calls Igor a good person and says Scamper and Brain are his friends. Schadenfreude watches as the king has an interview and says he can imagine as Igor and Eva are preparing for the science fair. Igor designs a dress for Eva, and Scamper and Brain help him make it. Igor has fun with Eva as they make the dress. Later, Eva calls Igor and the others into a different room and talks to them. She gives them presents. Eva gives Brain a new tag that spells his name correctly. She gives Scamper an immortal plant so he can be with it forever. She also gives Igor a director's beret, and Scamper says Igor has a present for her. Igor rushes and turns a canister into a necklace. Eva loves the gift, and he puts it on her neck. She gets excited as she leaves the room, and Scamper and Brain walk out on Igor as he calls himself evil. Igor walks around the castle as he wonders what he will do. Heidi walks to him and gives him an envelope. Igor gets transported into Schadenfreude's house as he opens it. Eva walks out of the castle and sees Heidi but doesn't see Igor. Heidi insults her and calls her ugly and realizes that Eva thinks she is an actress. Schadenfreude talks to Igor in his hot tub, and Igor asks him why he transported him to his house. Schadenfreude reveals that he knows that Glickenstein is dead and says he knows about Eva. He tells Igor his plan to kill the king and says he wants Igor to work with him. Igor declines his offer and realizes the door is locked as he tries to leave the room. Schadenfreude pulls out a gun and tries to shoot Igor, but he escapes. He traps Schadenfreude and his Igor in the hot tub and runs out of the building. Eva talks to Scamper and Brain and asks them if they think she is pretty. Scamper instructs Brain to get him some makeup so he can apply it on Eva. Meanwhile, Heidi returns to Schadenfreude's castle and frees him from the hot tub. She takes a pill and transforms into Jacqueline. She then informs him about Eva and says she thinks she is an actress. Igor returns to the castle, and Eva emerges. She accidentally falls down the stairs, and Igor tries to save her. He says she looks beautiful and tries to confess to her about the audition. Heidi arrives outside and screams. Igor rushes to help her, and Schadenfreude enters to talk to Eva. Heidi forces herself on Igor, and as Schadenfreude convinces Eva to join him, he shows her as Heidi kisses Igor and says he invented her to be a monster. Eva decides to go with Schadenfreude and leaves the necklace as she leaves the castle. Igor pushes Heidi off, and she transforms into Jacqueline. He rushes into the house and searches for Eva, but King Malbert enters and apprehends him. Igor informs the king that he invented life, but she is missing. The king throws Igor into the Igor recycling pit as he screams. Later, the scientists and spectators arrive at the stadium for the annual Evil Science Fair. Schadenfreude arrives with Eva, and they enter the building. Scamper and Brain decide to enter the Igor recycling pit and save Igor. Scamper turns the machine off, and the workers get alerted. Igor and the others run through the tunnels as they evade the workers. They eventually find a secret passage and escape the tunnels. Meanwhile, King Malbert addresses the audience and says the last monster standing will be unleashed on the world if the world doesn't pay the kingdom $100 billion. Igor and the others emerge on the tower with the beacon of evil. Igor wonders if the machine is really a beacon, and he climbs to the top of the tower. He realizes that the sun shines above the clouds and the beacon is a weather ray that makes the storm clouds. He realizes that the king lied to the people of the kingdom. Meanwhile, Schadenfreude talks to Eva and provokes her. He insults her and makes her hit him away, activating her evil bone and turning her evil. The evil science fair begins, and Igor lowers himself to the stadium using a rope. The evil scientists release their evil inventions into the arena, and the people laugh at Schadenfreude and Eva. Eva begins fighting and destroying the other inventions as she sings and dances. Igor enters the arena and tries to talk to Eva as she destroys her opponents. Scamper and Brain work together and try to destroy the weather ray. Schadenfreude goes to the king's box and pushes him into the arena. The guards try to apprehend him, but he says he will unleash Eva on them, and they release him. Scamper bites the beacon's wire and destroys it while Eva attempts to destroy the entire stadium. Igor rushes to her and tries to calm her down. He tells her that everyone has an evil bone in their body, but they choose if they want to use it or not. The storm clouds clear, and the light makes Eva's evil bone lose its power. The townspeople see the sunlight and are excited. Igor addresses the people and informs them that King Malbert created the storm clouds and lied to them so they could become evil. He says the townspeople don't have to be evil, and the king demands to see proof. The beacon falls on him and kills him. Schadenfreude celebrates, but Eva shakes the ground, making Schadenfreude fall. Jacqueline celebrates as she says she is single. She realizes she has run out of her transformation pills and reverts to her original state. The townspeople cheer for Eva and Igor and decide to no longer be evil. Later, Igor becomes the president of Malaria, and he enters the stadium. Schadenfreude is forced to become a pickle trader in the stadium. Igor rushes and meets Eva. He shows her his plan to create a pet dog for her and puts the necklace on her. The blind orphans get on the stage and sing to the townspeople. The end. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you next time.